Alright guys, today we are going to be multiplying decimals. So it's a little bit different when multiplying decimals compared to adding and subtracting decimals. So before we get in, our I can statement for today is very simple. It is I can, whoops, my bad. Alright, I can multiply decimals. Okay, very simple. Like I said, there is a difference between multiplying decimals and adding and subtracting decimals. If you remember, when we add and subtract decimals, what's the very first thing we have to do? We have to line up the decimals. Okay? Multiplying decimals is completely different. We don't have to line up the decimals when we multiply. Okay? So I need you to remember that. Add and subtract.
Miss Beck, please call the office. Miss Amy Beck, please call the office.
Yes, we line up. Multiply. Nope. We don't. Okay? Multiply. Nope, we don't. So then how do we multiply decimals? Alright. Like I said, you don't have to line up the decimals. To multiply, what you do is you have to multiply and count the decimals placed in both factors, both of the numbers. Okay? And then when you move the decimal left in the product, so in the answer. So let's practice this. Okay? So our very first step is going to be just set up. So let's say this was set up like this. 12 and 37 hundredths times 2 and 4 tenths. The way they set it up, notice did they line up their decimals? No, they didn't because you don't have to. So now you're just going to multiply like you normally would. So you would start and you would do 4 times 7 is 28. So carry your 2. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2 is 14. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. Now that we're done with the ones place, we have to move to the next place. So we put that 0 there, our placeholder. Cross these out because we're done with those. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. So now we have to add these up. 8 plus 0 is 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. 9 plus 7 is 16. 4 plus 4 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. Bring down your 2. Alright, so now where does our decimal go? What we have to do is we have to count how many decimal places did we have? How many numbers were behind the decimal place? So we had 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start with our decimal right here. We're going to move over 3 places. 1, 2, 3. There should be 3 numbers behind the decimal. So your answer ends up being 29 and 688 thousandths. Alright, so we're going to practice a little bit. So I'm going to just click my dice here randomly and see what numbers it gives me. Alright, so I have 4 and 2 tenths times 1 and 2 tenths. And this is an activity, if you're at home and you're doing this, get a pair of dice and roll the dice and create your own numbers to multiply. Or if you have game playing cards, flip over different cards and create your own decimals. So now we're going to multiply. Now that we have, since we have both factors have 1 decimal place, the decimals are obviously going to line up. But do we have to line up the decimals? No, we do not. So we've got 4 times 2 times 1 times 2. So remember, we go up, over. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. There's no other numbers, so we're done with this 2. Now we're going to go 1 times 2 is, oh, I forgot something. We don't have to add right here. That's right, a 0. So now I can go 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. Now I can add those up. 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry your 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Now my final step is to place my decimal. In order to place my decimal, I have to know how many numbers are behind a decimal. So if I look at my first factor, I have 1 behind it, and then I have another one. So 1 plus 1, there's 2 decimal places. So I need to go 2 decimal places over and place my decimal. And my answer is 5 4/100ths. Now we're going to practice it with the dice when there are different numbers of decimal places. So I'm going to hit my dice. And what do I get? I get 6 1/10 times 6 56 hundredths. Like I said, you can do this at home as well. Do I have to line up my decimals? No, I do not. What I suggest, the factor with the most numbers in it. So how many numbers do we have in this one? 1, 2, 3. There's 3 numbers here, and we have 1, 2 numbers here. 1, 2. Okay. The factor with the most numbers I put on top. So I'm going to put the longest number on top. So I'm going to put 6 56 hundredths on top and 6 1/10 on bottom. Notice my decimals are not lined up. And now I'm going to multiply. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 6 is 6. I'm done with this 1. So now I'm going to move to the next digit. Before I can move to the next digit, I have to put that 0 there because we're not using that place anymore. So now we can do 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 5 is 30. We're going to add that 3 we carried, so it's 33. Carry the 3. Well, sorry guys, my pen's not wanting to work. So it would be 6 times 6 is 36 plus that 3 would make it 39. For some reason there should be a little 3 right there. It's not putting it. Alright, and now we can add it up. 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry the 1. 6 plus 3 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Drop down your 0, carry your 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Alright, now I have to figure out how many decimals are there going to be. There's 1, 2, 3 numbers behind a decimal, and that's how many numbers we need to have in our decimal. So 1, 2, 3. Place our decimal, and so our final answer is 40 16 thousandths. And that is how we multiply decimals. Like I said, you can use dice and create your own numbers, or you can use playing cards. This skill really just requires practice, 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 practice. Okay? So practice on your own, and if you have questions, let me know.